Hello, everyone, and welcome to this third episode of Poetry Really Matters. Happy New Year, everyone! Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy poetry, happy positivity, happy inspiration for everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Cendrine, and you are.
My name is David.
And we're very happy to see you for the third episode. Um, So today we have some announcements to make because if you don't follow our blog, we've been pretty active over there, but we want to share the news with you, some pretty big news with you. And we're going to read some poetry as usual and discuss a question. Last time we had an excellent question from a viewer, which asked us, what's the difference between positive poetry and inspirational poetry? I've never seen that question before, so it was fantastic. And then we'll end the show with your questions or any news that you've shared with us on the show or before. And that's about it. So the first, we're going to start with our first news, which is issue 2 of Auroras and Blossoms Poetry Journal is out. We released it at the beginning of the year, and
3rd of
there is.
January, I think.
I'm sorry?
3rd of January, I think we released it.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Fantastic poetry. Jane Ashton, Philip Berry, Marcia Conover, Duke Croft, J.D. Estrada, and so on and so forth. 10 very, very, very good poets. We have some interviews in it, useful writing tools, great social media tips, and so on and so forth. So go check it out. You will not regret it. So that was the first piece of news. And the second piece of news, I will let David tell you about it because I'm too excited to talk about it right now.
Yes, Cendrine, thank you very much. The other news that we have is that we've started working on a series of journals and workbooks that are specifically tailored towards poets, but it can also include writers. Our first one that we released, My Creative Journal, that particular one contains 40 inspirational prompts that we've tried to make very original and unique. I came up with 20, Cendrine came up with 20, and we've basically got this nice, lovely journal with a lovely cover that we've created. So that was the first in the series that we've just released. But even more excitingly, we've actually released another journal workbook called My Marketing Workbook, and it's promotional tips for poets. And we've got a load of ideas in there for poets as well to help them promote themselves. We wanted to try and find ways for people to promote themselves more professionally because we find poets tend to write their poetry and then they don't really know how to promote themselves, how to effectively market themselves in a sea of a lot of confusion with all the indie publishing and everybody else out there. Everything gets swallowed up. So we wanted to try and be a sort of shining light and say, look, we're an inspirational poetry journal with Auroras and Blossoms. We wanted to extend that philosophy to a series of journals and workbooks. And that's what we're going to do. We've released those 2, and we've got other concepts in the pipeline that we're going to be rolling out to people as well. So I think it's a very exciting time for us. We're going to try and teach you how to write good poetry, how to edit your poetry, all kinds of different little ideas and things that we've got for these books. So all I'd say is just keep an eye, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter because we're going to keep giving you updates as to what we're up to and what we're going to be releasing and when they're going to be available to buy. They're available across a lot of different online stores. Some of them are in print, some of them are ebook. And we think that you'll find them very, very useful for your day-to-day poetry writing and as an inspirational creative sort of tool for yourselves.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about it because I'm too excited to talk about it. So I would have made a mess of it. Thank you, David. Yeah, it's very exciting because we really want to help you guys increase your creativity, find your style, no matter who you are, explore your talent, and also promote yourself better online because it's extremely hard in this day and age. It's always been hard to promote oneself, but it's getting even harder than it used to be even 5 years ago. So we have 35 years of combined experience as authors and writers. So we know how hard it is. We've been there, so we understand. So we are going to read some poetry for you today. The poem I chose is If by Rudyard Kipling, and David will then read one of his found poems. And David, you'll have to tell us what a found poem is as well, because I'm not really sure if everyone knows what it is. I'm
Sure.
going to start with my poem, then it will be your turn, David. So, If by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop to build them up with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on where there and so hold when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on, if you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
Lovely. So my particular poem, the reason I decided to read this particular poem today is that Cendrine really wanted to read If by Rudyard Kipling because it's an inspirational poem. And I write a lot of found poetry, quite recently actually. I haven't even been doing it in the last sort of several months or year. But I've been writing an awful lot of found poetry. And what that is when you take some source material. Now, it could be a poem, it could be a play, it could be a book, it could be a great big piece of writing or a small piece of writing. And you pick out words from that writing that kind of jump out at you. And then you then make sentences out of that and you make your own brand new poem out of that. So what I've done is I've written a found poem specifically based on If by Rudyard Kipling. My poem is called Triumph and the Truth Make the Things You Gave Your Life To. Keep your trust, make allowance for waiting about. Deal in being good. Dream, make dreams your aim. Triumph and the truth make the things you gave your life to. Risk your beginnings. Loss can force your heart to hold on when there is nothing to hold on. Keep your virtue common. Loving friends count much, can fill the minute with worth of the earth and everything that's in it. And that is my poem, which, as I say, I just basically took the words of Rudyard Kipling and I then came up with a brand new poem myself. I've got a very unique way of working when I do found poetry, is that I won't mix anything around. I will do it as I find it, as I'm going through each particular sentence or series of words that I use. And so that's a representative example of some of the found poetry that I've written. And as you can see, sometimes you will write something from an inspirational piece that might not come out in an inspirational way because of the words that you've picked out. But I tend to find that when you pick inspirational poems, more often than not, you'll get a load of inspirational words yourself, and that will create another brand new inspirational poem.
Mm-hmm. But you kept the flow of the original poem, though.
Yes,
it's very interesting.
Right, yeah.
The flow is there; it's the same. It's very, very interesting how creative it is. How it feels like you've heard it before, but it's so brand new at the same time. So it's very, very interesting. Lovely, beautifully done, David.
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you very much.
Don't be modest. You know, I love your poetry. So anyway, beautiful. Thank you. So today's discussion, the question I was mentioning to you earlier, the show, what's the difference between positive poetry and inspirational poetry? So this question comes from, I hope I pronounce your name right. If I don't, I apologize. L.A. Fellman. So she asked us this question after the show last month. So I know, David, you have things to say about this.
Yeah, sure, Cendrine. I mean, basically, I was trying to turn this over in my head. There can be some overlap. I mean, you can have an inspirational poem that is positive, and you can just have the separate entities. So you can have a positive poem and an inspirational poem. But the way you can differentiate between the two, or make a difference between the two, is simply that a positive poem on its own might have lots of uplifting words. Like if you take a poem about nature, you're going to say that flowers are beautiful, everything's pretty, everything's wonderful, happy, beauty, blah, blah, blah. Anything that is kind of very sort of positive, positively expressed, I think. Then if you take an inspirational poem, I find that an inspirational poem could be that it could be something silly or jokey, like I fell down a manhole. I'm thinking about my life and all the things that have happened to it. But and then I struggle and I get back up again, and nothing will keep me down, and so on and so on. And I'm not doing a very good job rhyming it, but I'm not really a rapper and doing things sort of up on the spot. So, so what I'm saying is that you can have, say, like a negative experience, but it's become inspirational because you've just said, oh, this has happened to me. So you're almost like telling the story. So inspirational could be telling the story, and then it could go from negative to you turn it into a positive experience. I would probably say a positive inspirational poem would be someone going around writing like what I wrote with my poem that was similar to If, saying that make dreams your goals and do this and do that is positive and wonderful and inspiring. That can be a positive inspirational poem. And then you can have a negative inspirational poem, again going back to what I just discussed with that experience. Or it could just be that it starts with someone that's saying, I hate myself, this, that, and the other. And then when you get to the end of the poem, it'll be like, but I've learned to live with myself and I'm a great person, and da 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 da. So that's what I personally see the difference between the two. As I say, you can combine the two, but you can section them off and have them completely separate depending on what you want to write. If you want to write expressively and positively all the time, then fine. But when you write inspirational poems, you can have artistic license to be able to bring in some negative elements, I think, and then you can then manipulate those elements and turn them into a positive either story experience or just a way of looking at life, really. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I went to look at some definitions today because I wanted to be able to talk about it in a smart way. So for me, the difference between positive and inspirational lies in the end result. So for me, inspirational is positive with a kick. So positive is something that has a good effect, that is optimistic, that is confident, that gives people hope. It gives people hope. A positive poem will make people's day brighter. But to me, inspirational is, it doesn't just give you hope. It gives you an encouragement. It provides encouragement for you to take action, to do something. So I'm going to give you an example taken from my personal experience. So it's my mom committed suicide in 2005, and she had tried to kill herself so many times. So the second last time, I said to myself, okay, you know what? There won't be a next time. She won't get out of it alive anymore. So I prepared myself. I prepared myself accordingly. When she passed away, and she finally committed suicide, she passed away, and the grieving process was so quick because I'd started grieving a long time before. So it was very healthy and a good grieving for me. I still miss my mom. I love her, but I grieved really healthily. So I wanted to share that experience with the world, and I wanted to help other people who may have gone through the same thing, have lost people in a sudden way, or lost a child or something. And I wanted to help them in my own way. So I wrote a book with short poems to help people who are actually scared of death. So the title of the poem was Short Poetry for Those Who Fear Death. And I released that book in 2006. And a few months later, this reader emailed me. And in their email, they said, well, before reading your book, I wanted to die. Life wasn't worth it. And then after reading my book, all they wanted to do was to live. And as sad as this example is, it's actually, while I consider it to be inspirational poetry, if it had been positive poetry for that person, it would brighten their day a little bit, but it wouldn't have triggered their desire to actually live and do something for their to survive and to get better. And I know this person now is doing better. So that's what it is for me, the difference between positive poetry and inspirational poetry. Inspirational poetry triggers something in you, gives you enthusiasm enough to do or create something, change something in your life, triggers your desire to be a writer, triggers your desire to be an athlete, triggers a change in you that you need to receive a kick for. That was the last spur in the horse to make it run. That was the last spur that was needed for that person to do something. So you mentioned negative. So anyone can have a negative experience. And when you write poetry, you can have a very negative experience. But when you submit to us, for example, think about the lessons that you learned from that negative experience and how you can make it into something in the poem that is inspirational to someone else, and how it can trigger a desire in the reader to actually change a part of their lives that relates to your own experience. So
yeah, that's what I find. That's that emotional trigger that you get, because, as we say, with positive poetry, you can fling out any number of happy, flowery, positive words or descriptions about something, but that isn't the same as, or it doesn't have the same effect as, you can appreciate those aspects. But like you say, the inspirational nature of poetry can be that it gives you either a reason to live, but it could be it could give you a call to action. Like it can inspire you to do something. It can inspire your creativity. It can inspire just you generally to your well-being. And you might get that kind of vibe off of positive poetry, but inspirational poetry is one that really kind of gets in there, that has a message. I think there's a clear emotional message that kind of just drives you, and just think, you listen to that and you just think, I can do anything, I can achieve anything.
Yeah. And I think that's a very important, for some people it's a subtle difference, but positive doesn't imply taking action towards something. It means feeling better, it means having your day brighter, and so on and so forth, but it doesn't automatically trigger a desire to change a part of your life or to change something. So that's really, I believe, where the difference lies, essentially.
Yeah, that's very much the case.
Yeah. So I don't see any question or comment, but that is absolutely okay. So, David, tell us about what you did recently. What happened? You released something new, I believe.
I thought you were talking about when I fell over yesterday. I thought that was my most recent announcement. I did release something, actually. I released a book of positive quotations that are kind of like micro poems. It's a very short book. It's only a month's worth of material, but I wanted to put it out there as a book because I paired it with some very nice pictures that I got from Pixabay. So basically, I just went and took a load of my micro poems. They're all 6-word poems. There's a month's worth. And as I say, I created a little book, and it's called Positive Belief, A Better You Awaits. And that is out on all your online retailers, including Amazon. And it's not as going to be a print book because that's quite a small book. And it's a kind of a little taster before I release another full-length poetry collection, which I think I'm on track to do towards the end of the month. I've already come up with the title for that one, and I think we're going to have another full-length poetry collection like my previous ones. But yeah, so as I say, I released that other book a couple of days ago, and I love the cover. It's very, very positive and inspirational. It's very, very pretty. So yeah, sort of check it out if you haven't had a chance to see it, and I'll mention it on my website at some point soon. But yeah, so it's, as I say, it's very, very positive kind of sort of book. There's mostly a lot of affirmations in there, daily affirmations, and some descriptions about. It was written around December time in 2018. So ultimately, there's some references to the weather, I think, in winter sort of time and Christmas and stuff. But I've tried to make it sort of as broad and inspirational as possible. So so that's my announcement.
That's great.
And you've got an
I know
announcement
it's
as well,
great. I read it, so I know it. I know it's great.
And you've also got another announcement as well, haven't you? To let everybody know.
Well, my virtual book tour started for this book here. If I can, The Heart of Space, which is book number 16. I'm very excited about that. That's the new book I released. I took old poetry and I've been writing. Some people don't realize that poets write all the time. They're always writing, and they may not share everything they do, but they, in the middle of the night, you'll find us writing, busy. You can text us, say, "Are you awake?" "Oh yeah, I'm awake. I'm writing. I'm doing something." So we have a lot of material that we accumulate over the years, especially when you've been around like we have, you and I, David. So I took some old poetry that I'd written years and years ago. My style has changed a lot, but the positivity in them is always makes me smile, because it was part of my life where I was going through some difficult stuff, and I was trying to share what I had learned from the experiences. Without what I went through, I wouldn't be the person I am today, and that's inspiration for me, only me, if not for someone else. So I took all these poems that have positivity in common, and it's about embracing difficult situations, about being the best person you can be. It doesn't matter what happens to you, as long as you learn from your lessons. And I brought them together, and I decided to release them, because I think ever since you and I have started working on the journal, Auroras and Blossoms Poetry Journal, I think I've wanted more and more to share positivity and inspiration with the world. Really, I think the journal has triggered. That's been an inspiration for me to release more and more and more of the pieces that I wrote in the old days that are positive. I want to share it more with the world, because I think we've reached a point in this day and age when we need more positivity. We need to be more positive. We need to have more empathy towards one another. We need to start relearning how to be with one another as people. I think technology can be, it's two swords basically. It can be negative, and it can make us take distance from one another, or we can use technology to be closer to one another. And I choose to use technology, social media, as a way to go closer to people, and to kill that distance between people. So that's really my goal. So that's The Heart of Space is one of the many books that I want to release that are really about positivity, inspiration, upliftment, and so on and so forth. I'm very, very happy you and I are working on the journal, because this is my inspiration. This what inspires me to continue putting the pieces out there. And one thing I want to say to people in general is that it doesn't matter how many people read you. It doesn't matter if you don't have that many readers. This is not important. What is important is what you leave behind for other generations and other people to see. So if there's only one person, like that person I mentioned, who wanted to die before reading my book, and then they wanted to live, then my job is done as an artist and as a human being. At the end of the day, that's the best tip I would give someone who's looking to get more exposure and more visibility. It's not about the number of followers, number of likes that you get on a post. It's about the impact that you can have on even one person. If you can change one life, then you know what? The rest at the end of the day really doesn't matter.
Yeah. How long is your book tour going on for? It's going on for a little while, isn't it? Is it a couple of weeks?
A month, an entire
A
month.
month. A
Yeah,
month.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So I thought it was a couple of weeks.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
I
you've
told
got
them month.
blogs. You've got blogs, I think, every day, haven't you? You've got quite a few
Yeah,
blogs like every single day.
there's about 1 or 2 blogs every day talking about the book. So it's very exciting. It's my first time trying a blog tour. Usually I go from blog to blog and I ask around, and usually have a good success rate and so on and so forth. But this time I didn't have to do the work, which was fantastic. I got booked. I'm using a company that booked all these blogs for me, which is really, really awesome. So we'll see how it goes. But in any case, it's always great to try new marketing tips and techniques and tactics to see where you can go and reach more readers, and see if you can impact someone in a way.
And that's what we're trying to do as well. I think, like we say with the journals and the workbooks, is that we're trying to take our collective experience, because we're still learning ourselves, despite our 35 years of collective knowledge and experience.
Absolutely.
We still learn all the time, and we try to see if we can share those experiences with people, to see if they can use those in a positive, inspirational way to either promote themselves, or, as we say, just to generally even just write poetry, because we know the creative muse can be difficult to find sometimes. And we were looking for ways to help people, because if they can write inspirational creative poetry, then maybe they'll have some material they want to submit to us that we can then share with everybody as well. So
that's very true. And very important. The reason why we did this and is to help you too. It's like we're sharing what we've been learning over the years. Yes, but we want to give you the necessary, the much needed self-confidence that a lot of people lack in order to launch their careers. Because at the end of the day, the hardest part, honestly, the hardest part is launching, is finding this self-confidence in you to say, I think I am good enough to do this, instead of listening to the voice inside or the people around you say, oh no, you're not good enough. Do not listen. Build your self-confidence. And I'm talking about a healthy self-confidence, not cocky self-confidence. The healthy self-confidence that makes you release books when you know you're ready, that makes you do things and follow a very specific strategy when you know you're ready, when you know the product is ready to go. That's the kind of self-confidence you need. Because remember that everyone has talent. It doesn't matter what kind of talent you are. What matters is to put it out there in a way that is good for you and for the rest of the world.
Yeah, and do it in a kind of like pleasant, professional manner, so that people will be they won't feel that you're arrogant. They won't feel that you're just cocky or too self-assured or self-confident. It's more about putting it out in such a way that just says, this is what I've produced. I believe it's got some quality. You can choose to like it or not, but I'll respect your decision either way. And more often than not, if you do it in such a pleasant, positive, professional manner, then people will support you, because they'll just be like, wow, I like how they carry themselves, how they reject themselves, and they aren't doing it in a kind of a way that is, I'm superior to everybody else. It's just like, I have talent, I've put this out there, and I'm sure you'll like it, and please take a look. And that's the best way to be, because then you will find that you will get a reciprocal kind of respect from people when it comes to promoting your work. If you go around just trying to blast everybody with it, then everybody's going to be indifferent, because they've got enough on their plate to deal with their daily lives. So that's what we're trying to drive at, really.
Yeah. Okay, I've been looking at this T-shirt on my screen. What is this? Show us.
I'll show it to you. I don't know if you can actually see. It's did someone say ice cream?
Where did you get this? It's so cute.
It is cute. Basically, I bought this from a company called Ditsy Donuts Designs, and that's donuts, DONUTS, Ditsy Donuts Designs. They're on Facebook. The lady that designs them, Romy, she does lots of cute animals and food and other things. I've got a Taco Tuesday T-shirt, but I had to get this one because I absolutely love ice cream. And and I just wanted to promote it today because I thought, well, she makes so many wonderful, funny and good-looking T-shirts for men and women and children as well. So I say check out the shop. As I say, she has a Redbubble shop and she also has a Facebook page. So it's Ditsy Donuts Designs.
Okay, wonderful! Wow, that's a very cute shirt. I love it. She located in the UK, right?
She's in the US. She's based in the US.
Oh, here you go. There you go. I heard. Okay. Well, in any case, that's all for today. Thank you all very much for being with us today. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back in next month for our 4th episode. I can't believe it's going to be.
Doesn't time fly when we're having fun?
Wow. In any case, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, David, for being here as always.
Thank you very much, Cendrine. Appreciate it.
And we'll talk to you next month. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.